Hey everybody, welcome to this video. Do you think that marriage has killed your sex life? If you think so, you need to watch this video. Stay tuned for it. Alright, we're talking about marriage and sex. And if you're in a long-term relationship or if you are married, you know what I'm talking about. And I've been married myself. I've been in long-term relationships and I know what it is like. I do speak from experience. So if you think that there's no hope, if you think that when you have a long-term relationship, everything is done and once it comes to a point, sex is not going to be interesting and it's not going to be more fun anymore, let me tell you that you're wrong. It can be really fun when you have a long-term relationship. And it can be very good. And I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy and you need to put some work and some effort in it. And if you're not willing to put that work and that effort, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. You have to work on it. You have to really work on your relationship, on your sexual relationship. So if you're willing to do that, I'm going to give you some tips here at the end. But first, let me talk to you about the difficulties that you're going to face and that you probably know already, but let me just tell them and express them. All right, one of the most common difficulties and obvious difficulty is that you're having sex with the same person every time. And yeah, this can become boring, or not boring, but it can become sort of like the same thing over and over. Once we know the person, once we know what they like, what they, how to stimulate them, what they're going to react, how they're going to react, we know it. So there's no excitement, there's nothing new coming in. And we all like new things. We like a new mobile phone. We like a new car. And we get excited with new things. All right. And I'm not comparing things with persons, but it's just the feeling that you have. You have a sensation of, wow, I have something new. And you at the beginning you're like that. Same thing with sex. When we know a new person, a new lover, we're very excited. And once some period has gone by, it gets like, okay, I know it already. So there's no excitement there anymore, but that can be solved. Having only that same person can lead into routine. All right. And routine means that you do over the same things over and over again. And when you're going to have sex, you have sex the same days and you have sex in the same places. And it becomes like a monotonous routine that you do over and over and again. And there's no fun in that. There's really no fun. And when there's no fun, we don't want to do it. It's very simple. And that's a human thing. We don't want to do it. So routine can kill a lot of your sex drive. Of course, family, kids, work, stress, all these things, they are very tied together. All right. And yeah, kids take a lot of energy. They take a lot of energy, especially when they're younger. And that can take all of our sex drive away. And we are worried about the kids and we take them here and there. And there's no time or energy to have sex, really, at the end of the day. Family, work. We work more and more every time. And that leads to stress. And stress is the biggest sex drive killer. Stress is really bad for sex. All right. So I know that the society goes so fast, all this social media information, we get so much information. We want to stay up to the information. We want to know everything. And at the end of the week passes by and we think, wow, it just passed by and I didn't do anything. And it just runs away from you. And that really kills our sex life. And yeah, it does. And of course, time is related to to this family and work thing, and we have no time. We don't actually save some time for ourselves, for our sex life, and sometimes not even for our health, our fitness, whatever. And we need to find that time. We need to find that time, and it's no excuse that we live in a society without time almost, but we need to find that time. All right, so those are some of the difficulties you're going to find and that you know already, because I'm not telling something new. If you're in a long-term relationship, you know what I'm talking about. But let me tell you some advantages of having a long-term relationship and the good things about long-term sexual relationships. They're great, in my opinion. And if you do and work on them, they can be really satisfactory. Well, one of the things that it's really an advantage, in my opinion, is that you can have a much more intimate sexual relationship. Because once you get to know the other person, like really intimate, in an intimate way, not only sexual intimate, but I'm talking about knowing what turns them on, knowing them what they like, knowing them in general as a person, all right? That creates a bond, and that bond can be taken to the sexual level as well. So it can become a very, very intimate relationship, and a much deeper relationship, which is another of the advantages. It can become you will have a much deeper connection in terms of sexuality, in terms of connecting in a more spiritual way when you have sex. And that is one of the keys for having a good long-term sexual relationship, is connecting at a much deeper and more spiritual level with this other person. Sex becomes a bit more, it is not so physical, it's also a spiritual bonding act that you will do. And that's a big advantage, because you can have much better sexual encounters, and much deeper and more satisfactory sexual encounters, which will lead for more pleasure. So this is one of the big advantages as well. Trust is a great advantage. When you have a long-term relationship, trust kicks in, and when you have trust, you don't need to be proving all the time. You trust that the other person knows what you like. You don't have to be faking. You don't have to be doing things that you don't want to do. And when there's trust, things are a lot easier. All right. When you start a relationship, normally, if you've been there before, you don't know what the other person likes, and you're always doubting yourself. Hey, does she like it? Does he like it? I'm doing it right. I'm doing it wrong. And maybe she says, hey, I like you, but you don't trust. There's no, that deep connection is not there. So trust is a great advantage here as well when you have a long-term relationship. And trust in sex is very, very important. Trust that the other person is not gonna hurt you, it's not gonna do something wrong to you, and that you can be sort of like give yourself to the other person, right? One of the big advantages is that you can do so many more things. Sometimes this has to do with trust as well. When you start a relationship, you're not sometimes willing to say things that you like to do, because you might think, well, she might or he might think I'm crazy, or he might weird out because I'm asking for this. When you have a long-term relationship, these things go away, because you can be yourself. And you're free to be yourself, and this is very, very important. You can express what you want, you can do what you want, knowing that the other person is not going to judge you, is going to be there with you, is going to do it with you, and this is a big advantage, because you can do so many more things, many more fantasies, many more wild things, many more whatever you want to do. So it's a big advantage, and I have to say that is one of the things that will help your sexual life be much more fulfilling and much more satisfactory. So, having said that you get a more spiritual bonding, you're gonna take sex to a different level. It's not gonna be so physical. It's not gonna be so I'm going to have an orgasm, but you're looking for a deeper connection. Orgasms that are actually more intense, because you can actually be yourself, free yourself up to the other person and to yourself as well. All right. So these are some tips that I want to share with you. First tip that I want to share with you: every single week, one of you have to do something for the other person in terms of sex. And what I mean by this, you have to find or try to make something happen in terms of sex. It doesn't matter what day, Monday, Tuesday, Friday, it doesn't have to be a set day, but each week, one of you, unless you're sick, unless you're on a trip, of course, I'm saying a normal week, you have to find a place, a time to have sex. And it's up to you, it's up to the person, each week, one of you, you can try to do, you can do a quickie, whatever you want, in the kitchen or whatever. You can do a normal, regular sex in bed. You can do anything you want. It's up to you, but you have to find that. You have to make it happen, is what I'm trying to say. You have to not wait for the other person to do it. You have to have the initiative to do it. All right, and that has to be each of you. Okay, one day the woman, one day the man, and if you're two guys, well, two guys. All right, each guy, whatever, but each of you have to make that happen, and it's a work. It's something that you have to actually think about at the beginning of the week. Hey, what I'm going to do You can be spontaneous, whatever you want, but you need to know that it has to happen. All right. This is one of the things that will help sex to happen, because sometimes what happens is that we forget, or we become too comfortable, and nobody takes the initiative. And this is a way to make one of you always to take the initiative. And it doesn't have to be always the man or always the woman. It has to be alternate, because if not, the person who always takes the initiative will feel like he or she is the only one taking the initiative, and it gets very boring, and it becomes a bit tiring as well. So this is one of the first exercises you have to try to do. And be creative. Do different things. Don't do it the same way every time. All right. Try to do different things. Make sure that you do some romantic dinners, that you go out, whatever. You can go out for dinner, you can go out for dancing, you can go out, but the only two of you have to make this happen. You have to find the time, the space. If you have kids, find someone to take care of the kids, whatever. I'm not going to put a number. It can be once a month, once a week, once a whatever you can do, but minimum once a month or twice a month. All right. Find time for yourself. Romantic time. I'm not talking about sex here. I'm talking about romantic time. It can lead to sex afterwards, but find that time to talk without anything around you, any kids, talk about whatever you want to talk, whatever. But the two of you together in a romantic setting, or in a separate setting. You can go out on a long weekend to a nice hotel. I don't know, whatever you want or whatever you can afford, but do it. All right. Make sure you do it. One thing that I recommend to do, and it's to try to do or complete one fantasy every month, at least every month. Try to do it every month. And a fantasy it doesn't mean like a crazy fantasy. It can be crazy fantasies. Whatever fantasy you want is good. But I don't know, something that you normally don't do. All right. It can be doing sex in the car. It can be on the beach. I don't know. Something that you fantasize about and you don't do. Buy some sex toys and use them. Maybe you have that fantasy. I don't know, doing anal sex or doing whatever you have not done or you like to do and don't do it very often. Do it at least once a month. It's a great way to maintain things up. Because you see, when you're with the same person all the time, as I said before, it becomes like a routine and it becomes monotonous. So you need to find creative ways to make it a bit more fun. And this is one of them, doing fantasies, because fantasies are different. Fantasies are things that you don't do every day. And it can become very, I don't know, role playing, for example. I don't know, that's one fantasy that's great. And that has a lot of options. You can do whatever role play you want, really. So those things are great for maintaining the routine out of the way, all right? And that's what we're trying to do here. One thing that I love to do, and if you are interested in it, read about it. I'll actually in the description below, I'll leave you two things. I'll leave you a link to get a tantric sort of like course that you can do, tantric sex course, and actually I'm going to leave you a free ebook that you can download. Actually, I'm going to put it up here as well. All right, on one of these cards. An ebook is called Relationship Magic, and it is a free ebook you can download, and maybe it can help you have some more ideas on how to connect a little bit more. All right, I'm going to leave that. But tantric sex is a great thing, and I'm not talking about tantric sex is very profound, and it can be sort of like difficult to do, but I'm talking about slow lovemaking. I'm talking about forgetting about the visual, forgetting about the quick, and do it very slow. Take 2 hours to make love. Relax, take the time, do it very slow, caress, kiss, all these things. This will bond you so much together, and you will enjoy this type of sex so much. Even if you are one of those wild ones that like it very hard and like it whatever, when you're in a long-term relationship, your sex is going to be going towards this type of sex with time. So I recommend to actually read more about it and try it. All right, try it and do more touching, more kissing, and do slow love making. Can be fun, and don't have to do it every day, but do it often, because it will help you. And honestly, I recommend you do it and read about it. All right. And finally, my last recommendation, and this is not a recommendation, okay? I don't want to tell people because this is very delicate, all right? I put a video up here that I talked about threesomes, all right? Um, when I say threesomes, it's one of the most common fantasies people have. Women and men, not only men, all right? Women have that fantasy as well. Now, it can be a bit tricky to do a threesome, so I don't recommend to do it like right away. I think it's something that has to come out of you and that you need to be very sure of it, okay? It's a great thing because it's a very new thing. Someone from outside comes in, but it can be very tricky and it can be very, very dangerous. So if you're willing to do something like that, you need to be very cautious and you need to be very sure about it. But it's something that can actually help, well, to kick a little bit of that juice into the sex relationship, something completely new and something that can be fun to do if you are ready to do it and willing to do it. As I said, there's a link up there that you can actually watch a video that I did about that, and maybe it will give you some insights as well. So this is it about this video. I just wanted to share with you all this information, all these tips that you can maybe use in your sexual relationship, in your long-term sexual relationship. As I said, you need to work on it, okay, guys and girls need to work on it if you want to make it happen and if you want to have a very satisfying long-term sexual relationship. Subscribe to my channel if you've not done so. You'll receive videos like this. There's a link down there that you can actually subscribe. I'll leave you a link down here below to my blog. All the information you need is there about sex and dating. There's a lot of sex courses there that you can actually take and will help you become a better lover. So thank you for watching and I will see you next week. Bye.